What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Lions video. Now, yesterday we did a video talking about undrafted free agent AJ Parker, the undrafted free agent rookie out of Kansas State. We talked about his strengths and his weaknesses, his potential of making the roster, and his potential of sticking with the Detroit Lions, along with just kind of talking about the idea of going a little bit deeper into the roster and looking at some of the lesser known players. And I enjoyed making that video. You guys seem to enjoy the concept of going deeper into the roster, and today I wanted to do that once again, looking at second-year safety and second-year undrafted free agent out of Norfolk State, Bobby Price. Now, as I said, Bobby Price was an undrafted free agent out of Norfolk State in 2019. He was a player, he was one of the last players that Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn brought in as a rookie, and is a guy that, although he didn't show a lot his rookie season, does have a tremendous amount of upside. Now, before we get into talking about Bobby Price, before we get into talking about the second-year safety and potential second-year standout, if you are new to the channel and you are enjoying the content, please consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. It takes 2 seconds out of you to do so. It's quick, it's free, and it is incredibly easy to do, and you would be helping the channel out more than you could possibly know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds to like and subscribe. I'd be incredibly appreciative for it. But with all that being said, without any further ado, let's get right into talking about Bobby Price, the second-year safety of Norfolk State.
Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah!
Now, as I said, Bobby Price was one of the last rookies that was brought in by the Quinn-Tricia regime, as he signed as an undrafted free agent safety from Norfolk State after going undrafted in the 2020 NFL Draft. Now, Bobby Price is a player that the first thing you are going to notice about him is his elite level athleticism. In the 2020 draft class, he scored a 9.96 RAS score, a 9.96 raw athletic score, while measuring in at 6'3", 216 pounds, running a 4.43 40-yard dash, clocking in at 22.1 miles per hour on that run, testing it at a 43-inch vertical and an 11-foot broad jump. Bobby Price played 4 years at Norfolk State as a starting safety and ended up starting 36 of his 42 games played there. Now, in those 42 games, Bobby Price totaled over 229 tackles for 8 tackles for loss, 7 interceptions, 30 passes defended, 4 fumble recoveries, and a blocked kick. Bobby Price is the absolute definition of a ball of clay prospect. He's a guy that is big, is fast, is strong, produced at the college level, even though it was at an FCS school and a little bit of a smaller level. He's a guy that is big, strong, and fast, tests incredibly well athletically, is a workout warrior, is a guy that even at the college level produced. It may have been at FCS, it may have been at a lower level, but at the end of the day, he did produce, getting 7 interceptions and 30 passes defended in 42 games. He is a player that is big, is fast, is strong, and has unlimited potential. He is kind of the opposite of AJ Parker that we talked about yesterday. He's a guy that is a low floor but incredibly astronomically high ceiling with his athletic potential and his ball skills. Now, last year for the Detroit Lions as an undrafted rookie, he ended up playing in 25 snaps across 2 games and only ended up making his first and only tackle in Week 13 versus the Chicago Bears. Now, Bobby Price does have a lot of positives, the biggest of which is, of course, his athletic upside. Standing at 6'3", running a 4.43 40-yard dash at 22 miles per hour, having a 43-inch vertical and an 11-foot broad jump, along with the rest of his very solid athletic testing numbers, is going to put Bobby Price on some boards, is going to put him on the radar of NFL teams, and especially with the production that he showed in college, over 7 interceptions and 30 passes defended with 4 fumble recoveries. He's a guy that also produced and turned the football over quite a bit bit for the Spartans. Now, along with his athletic upside, along with his big-time explosiveness, Bobby Price is also a very fluid athlete. He's a guy that has really good hips, is a really good change of direction player, and a player that has very smooth hips, transitions well from, back pedal to full-on sprint. Is a guy that changes directions incredibly well, and is a guy that, along with his explosiveness, along with his athletic ability, is also a player that transitions incredibly smoothly. And when you find a player like that who has really good hips, can transition from back pedal to sprinting, a guy that can break on footballs, along with a guy that is 6'3", 216 pounds, and runs in the 4.4s, you have right there your ball of clay, and you have right there the athlete that you are going to try to mold and form into a top-end safety. Not only does Bobby Price have really good athletic upside, not only is he a very fluid athlete, he also has really good burst when he's driving on passes. He's a player that is, just overall very explosive and very fun to watch as an athlete. He has incredible range, being a smooth transitioner, being a really good change of direction player with 4.4 speed, and being 6'3" and incredibly long. It is no surprise that Bobby Price came up with 7 interceptions. It is no surprise that one of his biggest qualities and one of his best qualities as a scouter, as a potential draftee, was his range and playmaking ability. He's a guy that took the football away, a guy that did not allow a lot of big time plays over the top, and did not get beat a whole lot at Norfolk State. And when you're big, fast, strong, and put up that kind of production, you are going to make your way onto draft boards, whether you be out of Norfolk State or out of Alabama. It doesn't really matter where you're from at this point as an NFL player. What does matter is his size, his speed, his ability, his potential, and really what he can do for you in the future. And the last thing I want to talk about, we've talked about his athletic upside and all the things that he can do, but he also wraps up and tackles pretty well as well. He's a really good form tackler. At the end of the day, is a guy that is going to bring it down the player in front of him more times than not. Now, moving on to his weaknesses, these are things that are absolutely concerning. We talk about Bobby Price, we hype him up, we talk about his size, his speed, his potential, his playmaking ability, and what he can do for the Lions in the future, but he does have some really big weaknesses that were big enough to the fact to make it so that he wasn't a really big time prospect and was not a player that by any NFL team really was considered draftable in the 2020 NFL draft. Now, I think his biggest problem, I think Bobby Price's biggest issue coming out of Norfolk State was his instincts. He's a guy that got caught out of position a lot. He's a guy that got caught out of position a few times throughout his college career. Not consistently enough for me to say that it's unfixable. Not consistently enough for me to say that he is an absolute bust and can't play the safety position, or that he'd be a liability at safety. But it was enough times where it was a concerning thing, and it was enough times where you started to question where his instincts were, because there were several times where Bobby Price would come up a little too far and bite on some run fakes. There were some times where he made some mental lapses or made some mental mistakes, whether that be rotation and coverage, whether that be just covering the right guy in the right space, or like I said, just getting caught up a little too much trying to make that big play coming downhill on a run fake. Now, with that being said, Bobby Price also definitely needs to shore up some of his angles. He's a very good tackler, very solid form tackler, but because he's such a good athlete, hasn't always necessarily had to have the greatest technique, and definitely has not always had to take the greatest angles of pursuit, and that is something that he struggled with a few times in college as well. He's a guy that in pursuit doesn't always take the greatest angles because he's big enough and fast enough that he hasn't always needed to. He's always been able to make the tackle. He's always been able to catch up. He's always been able to track down that player, whether he makes a good angle or not, whether he runs at the right angles or not, and whether he pursues correctly or not. Bobby Price is just a guy that throughout his college career was a guy that could get away with having some lesser technique and being less refined as a player because he was able to just make up for that with athletic prowess and being by far the best and biggest athlete on the field. In my personal opinion, as I mentioned before, I use the term ball of clay prospect. A ball of clay prospect is a player that in general is just somebody that you can see the potential, and a guy that if everything works out, if everything plans out, and you can mold and shape this player correctly, he's a guy that has all pro potential. He's a guy that has Hall of Fame potential. And you may be saying, Bobby Price, Hall of Fame, that's really, a big stretch for a guy that was a UDFA just a year ago and hasn't even played a single defensive snap yet. And I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro player, but Bobby Price is the definition of a ball of clay. He is the definition of a low-floor, high-ceiling player. He is an astronomical ceiling. He is a player that at his peak, if every single thing works out, if his instincts develop correctly, if Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant can make this guy a special talent and can really get his instincts right, he's a player that can be special. He is a player that can be an all-pro. He has has all the tools. He has enough tools to be a all-time great safety, and likely that will never be. Likely Bobby Price will never be a full-time all-pro top of the NFL level safety, and likely Bobby Price, he may never ever reach his potential. But with the coaches that have been brought in, with this new coaching staff, with Aaron Glenn and Aubrey Pleasant there to teach him, with a couple other veteran guys like Tracy Walker, a guy that had all the athletic potential coming out of college as well and had to develop, and in my opinion, develop pretty well, a guy that was kind of in his situation in Tracy Walker to learn from, and these new top level defensive backs coach, I see no reason that Bobby Price won't make the roster. I think he will make it the roster as the last safety and as probably one of the last members to actually make the active 53. I think he makes it. I think he develops. I think he's protected by the Detroit Lions because they see his upside and they see his potential. And I think Aubrey Pleasant, I think Aaron Glenn worked their magic on Bobby Price, and maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but a couple years down the line, and maybe even by the end of this season, if everything goes according to plan, we see Bobby Price making plays in the secondary. We see Bobby Price starting alongside Tracy Walker in a two-high safety set, two big, strong, fast, athletic upside safeties that are really good ball hawks out of the air. Bobby Price works out to his potential and is able to play alongside Tracy Walker as a full-time starting safety. This secondary would look really, really scary. And Bobby Price single-handedly can complete this safety and be the last missing piece and missing link to complete the secondary and the defense. But with all that being said, that is it for guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about Bobby Price. Do you think he can live up to his athletic potential? And do you think Aubrey Pleasant and Aaron Glenn can make him into something special? Let me know that down in the comments below. But with all of that being said, that is it for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what player you want to see next. What player do you want me to go into and do a deep dive on next? I'm down to do any player that you guys want to see, so just let me know down in the comments below. But with all that being said, that is it for you guys today. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, and as always, go Lions!